morning, we're going to talk about event-driven architecture or and event-driven thinking, the architecture behind all the AI breakthroughs. And so, first off, I would like to introduce uh, Bob Dietrich, the Director of Solutions Engineering, and Paul McCluskey, the Head of Marketing.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, guys. So before I moved to the US, I was in operations for about 10, 15 years in the UK. So managing networks for Vodafone, Cable and Wireless, Videotron, actually, at one point. So that's how old I am. And throughout the last sort of 20 years, we've been building systems for operations pretty much the same way. So when it comes to integration, we have a set of APIs, allows you to connect systems together point to point, allows you to talk about specific objects, get information about them. That hasn't really changed a lot over that period. But now AI's come along and its needs are different. And so a lot of folks are stuck with systems that can't really feed AI applications with data in the way it needs to consume it. So for an LLM or an AI application that's looking to make decisions or answer questions, it needs context. And that means grabbing data from a lot of different places or at the same time in order that you can get an answer. So that context focus puts a lot of stress on the systems you already have. Typically, the systems that are there today can only provide data in bulk, overnight batching, that kind of thing, and then it's already out of date. So that's not really working for a lot of operators who are halfway through perhaps an initiative hoping to get results. And I think everyone is hoping to get improvements in whether it's revenue, whether it's operational costs, but leveraging AI to improve the business. And most folks are kind of struggling to get past that first hurdle of really managing the data in a way that gives them the results that they need. So I'm going to let Bob talk a little bit about the event-driven architecture next. Maybe Jon, you can.
Yeah. So why is data becoming more critical than ever, and really, why is it a problem for the service providers, and the operators?
Yeah, I think what Paul was hitting on before was that everything needs to evolve to driving AI, and to do that, you need accurate data and real-time data. The problem with AI and trying to leverage it with latent data is it can give incorrect answers, especially if you're trying to personalize with customers. You need to know immediately what they've been doing and what you want to be able to answer. So that's kind of a big driver in supporting AI. And we left some flyers around. Everything we talk about is kind of feeding AI with the real-time data, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
So, what is an event-driven architecture, and really, where has it been proven before?
Yeah. So event-driven architectures are kind of new for telecom space, but they've been proven at scale in different industries. I mean, there's industry giants like Uber and Amazon and Walmart that leverage these event-driven architectures for their back office operations. It allows them to be highly flexible because data is shared in real time across their organizations, but it also allows them to be very, very scalable, allows this data to be reactive, and people can make intelligent actions like we mentioned with AI. So if we look at the diagram that we put up, an event is simply a state change within a system, but it reflects something important within the organization, whether it's a new order coming in, or a bill going to a customer, or a bill being paid, or a network going down. These are things that not it's where today it's more point to point interactions and sharing that information, but really across the organization, things are important because as an order is provisioned, you want to now start billing, you want to now start monitoring it. And these are all things that you want to share in a real time way. So we're turning things upside down. So instead of polling systems to get data, as systems make changes within the organization, they push data and produce events. These go into a real-time data stream that anyone can go and consume. So there's no more point-to-point APIs. It's one-to-many in real-time sense. And if something is interest to a system, they consume that. So they become a consumer of that data, and they can pick and choose what data is important. But you can see how flexible this makes it, where I don't have to go to the producing system to get an API coming directly to me. I can just consume the data that they're publishing for everyone to use. And so you can see now, if I want to start introducing AI, it's very simple for them to see all the interactions that are happening across the organization from that data stream and provide those automated actions. So, like at one of our customers at Boost, Wavelo has also OSS, BSS, but we drive it all from our event-driven architecture. So when we go and send out an invoice to a customer or a payment comes in, we publish that event to the event stream, and then Boost can see that happening, and then they can make some actions. Maybe they want to say thank you to the customer for the payment, or maybe if they've been a customer now for a year, they could offer a new bundled discount. But it just allows new interactions because of that real-time data being available.
So how does event-driven architecture access or unlock all that data trapped within silos without having to reinvent the IT stack?
Cool. I'll start. So, yeah. So if we look at the left-hand side, this is a traditional legacy BSS OSS. I mean, I've been around for a long time, and at one time there were no interfaces, but then we started making systems become more open and exposing interfaces, but they're still point to point. And you can see where this mesh over time comes around. And even if we look here, we have single product catalogs and single provisioning systems. But a lot of these big companies with their acquisitions, they have three product catalogs, or they might have six billers based upon the service or an area, and it becomes very difficult to manage. And if you look on the left-hand side, it's very difficult to be flexible. If you want to start offering new services or pull AI data out for AI, it's very difficult in this mesh. But if we now look to the right-hand side, inventory and data is being published to the event stream, and it allows the easy interactions with current systems, but also new systems. So if you want to introduce a new biller, it's very easy to start sending data to it because it's all available on the event stream. But also you can start adding in other systems like AI and do machine learning and training your models. You can add in orchestration and manage fallout. But also you can start looking at and building dashboards where you can not only see the dashboards of siloed areas like ordering or construction. I can start looking at dashboards across the whole organization because that data is available.
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of shows like this year. It's probably our 10th one at this point. I don't know. But we spend a lot of time listening to what everyone has to say and what challenges they're having with their AI initiatives. And this data issue comes up again and again. So the last show we were at, there was T-Mobile and a bunch of other folks up on stage talking about some of the challenges they had. And I think what this approach allows you to do is not have to switch everything off that you already have in your ecosystem. So historically, if you wanted to upgrade, put another system into your OSS or BSS, you got to figure out a way to unpick the one that you have without breaking anything and switch it over. And that's high risk, it's costly, and it'll take you, a year, 2 years probably to get that done. In this model, what we can do is we can listen to the APIs from your existing systems, turn those into real-time messages, and then use those messages to drive new processes. So you build your automation based on the new message-based framework rather than your existing APIs. So we coexist, if you like, with everything you already have, and you can worry about switching off your old systems later. So that means you can extract the value of the data that's locked in those systems that you've had for 10, 15, whatever years. And then your plan for replacing them can be pushed out to another day. And at least you're maximizing the value for your business out of the gate. So that's something that really, I think that taking the risk out of making those changes is hugely valuable, especially from an operational perspective.
And Paul, you brought up a good point that the data we're exposing is another technique is just trying to grab a lot of data and squish it into a data lake and try to use the data as is. We're providing data in real time, but with context. So it's not just that an order got provisioned. You want to know that it took 3 days and the customer had to call in and all the interactions that happened to make that data available. So you can start looking operationally at and how things are being done within your organization.
Well, and you mentioned earlier, you spoke about, freeing your data. Where would you start? Where do you start with that?
Yeah, so Paul mentioned what we want to do is make sure that we don't touch anything going on in operations, but getting the data out. So the first thing is we can build listeners and passive monitoring of the current APIs going on and that organizational processes across the different silos and produce those events in real time. So the goal is to make sure that data is available for any consumer that you currently have or maybe those in the future. So we capture these events. We also normalize them because, like we talked about, you might have 6 billers. Each one might have a different format of information or different API. We want to publish events that are normalized. So if I have consumers of the data, it doesn't matter which billing system it came from. The invoicing and the payment data is all normalized to that. Um, then we put that onto an event stream, our event bus. Wavelo what drives that with our event-driven architecture, and then that becomes a quick, real time, and making this data available and high throughput. We want to make sure we're non-intrusive, so nothing we're doing stopping anything going on in operations. It's really being able to share that data as a first step. So we're freeing the data to be able consumed in different ways. And then we want to make sure any data we have is secure. If we're pulling out PII data, we want to mask it. We want to make sure that the data that we're now allowing other systems to consume is secure in that way and compliant.
Yeah, so I think an example use case might be if you have a network event. So you might have a fiber cut, you might have some other issue that's causing problems for customer service. Um, y- this would allow you to identify who is impacted by the failure and then proactively tell them perhaps that, hey, we know there's an issue. We think it's going to take 3 hours to resolve. And you might actually put a credit into their account. You give them $10 to say, hey, this is, we know it sucked today. So here's a refund. But you could do that ahead of time. So instead of waiting for everyone to call in and having to pay to process all of those calls, you're getting ahead of that. So you're taking some of the costs out of the customer care side of the business too. So being able to connect processes that run across the business becomes a lot easier when everything's being managed in real time like this. So we have an orchestration layer that sits on top of this. So you can spin up a process on the fly and trigger another set of actions that might happen on the back of an event automatically.
Great, great, thank you. So we were talking a little bit earlier about Ting Internet and Wavelo's history. Can you tell the folks here about that and what are the latest developments there?
Sure. I don't know if you heard of Two Cows, probably not. You may have heard of GoDaddy though. So Two Cows is the number two. Yes, based out of Toronto. So about 30 years in the domain management space. A lot of super geeky internet folks, but they really do know software. So we've spent a long time building software and building data centers around the globe. And when the company decided to diversify, they became a fiber ISP. So that's Ting Internet and also an MVNO. So we've got Ting Mobile as well. Well, those guys needed tools. And so we used all of the know-how we had from the internet side of the business to build those tools. So all of the operations tools, all of the billing and everything else, all of the provisioning, everything is done by Wavelo in the Ting business. And so having built that, it's like, well, we've got this great asset now. What are we going to do with that? So that's become our Wavelo product set that we're offering, outside of Ting, obviously. But what it gives us is like a beta customer within our company. So we can go to Ting, we can try out new things, we can talk about use cases that, they might be struggling with from a process point of view and figure out how we can further develop the Wavelo product set to help drive their business forward. So that's quite unique as a software vendor to have an in-house provider that we can work closely with to develop new features, new capability.
When Ting rolled out, a lot of things they were doing was really starting from scratch, doing things in a more manual sense. But using their internet philosophy, they leveraged the event-driven architecture and then started to slowly move systems, both in-house and external customers, onto the event-driven architecture using that real-time data. And then we're able to start reducing and automating flows, being able to turn up service very quickly, and then also extend that into an MVNO provisioning. Where we're extending that is leveraging the data to do more AI kind of native ops, being able to see where our gaps are in any kind of flows or being able to quickly react. We're also extending into the assurance space where we're getting real-time telemetry and alarming data from the network and being able to wrap that into the business operations workflows to be able to communicate with customers very quickly when there's outages, but also communicate when the network is back.
Essentially, for modernization, being able to coexist with existing systems and extract data that you could drive to AI applications and LLMs is really important. Doing that in a low-risk way is obviously key, and less interruption to the business. And I think going forward, we're going to see more and more opportunity to connect processes throughout operations and the back office as well, using this kind of architecture.
My competitor puts out a new offer in my area, right? And I want an immediate, response to that. So how do I input that data into this scenario, right? Because this is more internal data, but how would I approach that from here?
When we put this into Boost, I mean, their competitors, it's taking months to roll out a new product. You got to put it in a product catalog. That product catalog's got to roll to billing. It's got to update provisioning. And what we're able to do is we produce the updates in the product catalog. It's shared across this message bus to every downstream system that needs it. And that enables Boost as a reference point to roll out services in hours.
But I think to your point, though, what you're saying is, how do I get that alert when something's happened? So what you can do is, so you can generate events from anything. So if you had even like an RSS feed or something like that that said, hey, competitor X has rolled out a new service, whatever that is, you can use that to trigger an event. And then on the back of the event, then you can revisit your offering. One of the things we worked with Verizon, right? We're working on next best offer, I think.
Yeah.
So the ability to offer an alternative package, like on the fly. So if somebody goes onto your website, decides they want to cancel service, that's an event. So you can respond to the event. If you imagine being able to grab all of the customer's usage in one go, take a look and say, well, how are they using their service today? And then package something up that would be cheaper than maybe what they're paying today, but suits the way that they're using what you're giving them, then that's something you can do in real time. It's pretty powerful.
All right, good timing too. We just hit the mark. 0. Good job. So, hey everyone, give it up for Bob and Paul from Wavelo.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you.